Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Angel.
Here.
Commissioner Crawford.
Here.
Commissioner Householder.
Here.
Commissioner Jennings.
Here.
Commissioner Shirley.
Here.
Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on today's agenda is the Citizens Forum. Is there anyone from the public that wants to speak on any issue that's not on our agenda today? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to awards and proclamations.
Item 4.1, the month of February 2012 as Black History Month in the city of Salina. Shakina Jones will read the proclamation.
Is anybody here? Looks like Ms. McDonald knows who she's looking for.
Oh, somebody, oh yeah. Probably Sandy.
Okay, let's just move on.
Okay. Item 4.2,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Coming in.
Can come on up and read your proclamation for us.
Well, I want to introduce myself formally. I'm Shakina Jones, and I'm a sophomore at Central High School. And this is the proclamation for February 2012 for Black History Month. Black History Month is an opportunity for all Americans to honor the rich cultural heritage and legacy of people of African descent and pay tribute to them in the community, organizations that contribute to the social, cultural, and economic and political life of Salina. And the citizens of Salina have been in the forefront of efforts to establish a caring, compassionate society based on the inherent dignity of all of its members by taking a leadership role aimed at eliminating all forms of discrimination and disadvantage, and by recognizing that that a fundamental strength of our community is based on the diversity among us. Now, therefore, I, Samantha Andrew, Mayor of the City of Salina, do hereby proclaim that the month of February 2012, Black History Month, and urge that every citizen of Salina join me in celebrating the diversity and character of our community, and highlight the importance of sharing our culture, customs, and tradition with those around us. A witness whereof I have hereunto you set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Salina, Kansas, be affixed this day, February 13th, 2012.
Do you know any of the events that are planned for Black History Month?
Yes. There's actually a play going on called Fences at the Salina Community Theater, which is about a black family. And this is a story about Troy Maxson, a former star of the Negro Baseball Leagues, who now works as a garbage man in 1957 Pittsburgh. Jannard Burks is the star of the stage and screen, makes a special appearance as the lead character. You can call the box office for dates, times, and ticket availability.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
there is also an NAACP Freedom Fund Luncheon. It's Saturday, February 25th, 2012, at the Ramada Convention Center, and the doors open at 11 a.m. The cost for this is $30 for adults and $15 for youth aged 10 and under. Contact Cora Williams at 827-6955 or Earl Bess at 820-8399 for ticket information. There is also the Who is Who of Black History done every Sunday of the entire month of February at New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church at 321 North 8th Street. The service time for this church is at 11 a.m. Thank you.
And then I noticed in the lobby of the City County building, there's a display, I presume, for the month up there as well. So
Thank you.
I have your signed proclamation. Come on up.
Item 4.2, the week of February 19th through the 25th, 2012, as National Engineers Week in the city of Salina. Wayne Nelson, president of the KSPE Smoky Valley chapter, will read the proclamation.
Come on up. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, proclamation of the City of Salina, Kansas. Whereas engineers have used their scientific and technical knowledge and skills in creative and innovative ways to fulfill society's needs. And whereas engineers face the major technological challenges of our time, from rebuilding towns devastated by natural disasters to designing an information superhighway. And whereas engineers are encouraging our young math and science students to realize the practical power of their knowledge, and whereas we will look more than ever to engineers and their knowledge and skills to meet the challenges of the future. Whereas this year's theme for the event is 7 billion people, 7 billion dreams, 7 billion chances for engineers to turn dreams into reality. And now, therefore, I, Samantha P. Angel, Mayor of the City of Salina, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of February 19th through February 25, 2012 as National Engineers Week in the City of Salina, and I urge all citizens to pay appropriate tribute to the engineers in our community for their contributions to our health, safety, and welfare. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Salina, Kansas to be affixed this 13th day of February, 2012. Samantha P. Angel, Mayor.
Thank you. What events are planned for the week?
Well, there are events that have actually spanned a 2-month period, going back into January, where the Future Cities competition was held in Lawrence on the University of Kansas campus. That encompass 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, where they create cities on their computers and then build a 3-dimensional tabletop model to scale. They provide a brief written narrative of their city, present a short skit, and answer questions from a panel of judges. Leawood Middle School is the 2012 state winner and will compete in the national finals February 17th through 21st in Arlington, Virginia. Recently, we held our regional math counts competition February 4th on the KSU Salina campus. We had 68 mathletes from 10 public and home schools participating. The statewide competition will be held March 3rd, also on the KSU Salina campus. The national competition will be held May 11th in Orlando, Florida. Last year, a Kansas mathlete won the national written competition. Smoky Valley members have been the statewide coordinators for the past 3 years. Next week, our annual Sweethearts and Awards Dinner will be held on the 21st, where we will recognize outstanding achievements in engineering, teaching, and citizenship and service to the community.
There's a lot going on.
Yes.
Come on up. I have your proclamation.
Okay. And I also have some Engineering Week buttons for you all to enjoy and wear.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne.
I get more buttons.
Thank you. Move on to public hearings and items scheduled for a certain time.
Item 5.1, public hearing on a naming of municipal facilities request for the naming of basketball court in the Bicentennial Center. Item 5.1A, resolution number 12-6878, naming the Bicentennial Center's basketball court as Kurt Budke Court.
We'll officially open the public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Gage.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. As the Deputy City Clerk mentioned, we have a request to rename the basketball court in the Bicentennial Center after Kurt Budke, who, as most people in the room, I believe, know, was the Oklahoma State ladies basketball coach and was tragically killed in a plane accident along with an assistant coach. And as a result of that, Mr. Budke grew up in Salina and was very well known in this community, very well liked as well, and certainly is someone of that became of national prominence in what he did. And as a result, Mark Chaput and Larry Brittingham brought to the city a request to rename the court in honor of Mr. Budke. That occurred a couple of weeks ago. Last week, the City Commission approved qualifying the facility so that it could be named. And so this week we actually have the request in front of you. The Commission has a few options here, and this falls under what we consider to be the honorary naming option, and it requires a petition of signatures which have been submitted. The Commission's role, obviously, is to review the City Clerk's verification as to the compliance of the naming petition, which has been reviewed and considered to be in accordance with the guidelines. Review the merits of the naming initiative and supporting documentation, including a review of the name, any applicable history, and the specific application of the name in the facility, and then take any action regarding the naming of the facility that you may wish to take, including approval, denial, amendment of the request, postponement, whatever action that might be. In this particular case, with it being the establishing the name of the court, the name would be painted on the court. And so, in essence, the resolution that's attached would allow, if this is approved, staff to work with them on the final font, size, aesthetics, and so forth. And they've indicated a gracious willingness to pay any costs associated with this. The timing of this would be, and that's why this is sort of a fairly quick process, is because it would make sense to have that unveiled during the NJCAA tournament in March. So it's a pretty fast timeline to get prepared for this. So we anticipate what would probably happen is a decal of sorts would be applied for that purpose, and then work with the timing of the refinishing of the floor for the actual naming. In the policies attached for you, and it explains the process in a little more detail than I'm going to do this afternoon. But it doesn't establish a timeline for this. It leaves it to your discretion if you ever want to rename again at a later date. That was a question from the applicants, and I informed them that if they had a specific timeline in mind that they'd like to ensure that it's preserved, they could certainly ask that of you, and you could consider that. So with that, I believe our Mr. Chaput and Mr. Brittingham are here, and I think I would leave it to them to speak a little bit more about the reason and purpose behind naming it after Mr. Budke and the impact that he had in Salina and beyond. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Gage? Will the initial decal lettering plus the actual painting of it will all be handled with private funds? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Public comment? Give us your name and address.
My name is Mark Chaput, 2541 Edward. I thought it would be appropriate for Salina to recognize and honor Kurt Budke for his accomplishments in the game of basketball. Kurt was born and raised here in Salina, attended Sacred Heart High School, graduated class of 1979, where he still holds the all-time leading scorer and rebounding record. His team won the 1979 Class 3A state championship, he being voted the MVP of the tournament. He won 4 national junior college titles, one in 1999 here in Salina at the Bicentennial Center. His teams were in the national title game 6 out of 7 years. He, to my knowledge, is the only Division I head coach ever to come out of Salina. He is the youngest person ever inducted into the Junior College Hall of Fame. Junior College National Coach of the Year in 1995 and in 1998. His junior college coaching record was 273-31. In a 9-year junior college career, he had a 90% winning percentage. That was highest ever in junior college history. Kurt Budke was 465-130 as a career coaching, a 78% winning percentage. With all of these outstanding accomplishments, and with the junior college tournament played here in Salina, and with Kurt being here from Salina, I thought naming the court after him would be a perfect fit and a great tribute to one of Salina's own. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
My name is Larry Brittigam, and I live at 102 South Skyline Drive. I won't repeat everything that Mark said, but I've been involved in youth sports most of my life and have had the opportunity to be part of naming different facilities around Salina. And I know these are always emotional decisions, especially when the people coming forward were very, very close friends of the person who passed away. But as Mark and I talked, and as we talked with city staff, our intention was to take an individual who is really what Salina is all about. You know, the old saying a village raises the kids, and Kurt was definitely raised here in Salina, as his parents were too. The thing about Kurt, if you didn't know him, was that he was the same, whether he was 10 years old or whether he was 50 years old. Unfortunately, he lost his life at age 50, along with 3 other people. And sometimes we have a tendency to talk a lot about Kurt, but his head recruiter was also killed in that plane crash, as was another couple. It seemed appropriate when Mark said something to me about naming it after Kurt, that this was a really good idea. It was a good idea for a lot of reasons. In so many times in today's society, we have a tendency to talk about overall records. And Kurt had one of the best records in the history of basketball in the country. But that's really a secondary part to naming after him. Honestly, if his record was 100 and 300, I think Mark and I would still be up here talking to you today, because what he was about was Salina. Kurt left Salina, coached Iola, was at Friends for a while, was at Trinity Valley, took over one of the storied programs at Louisiana Tech, and ended up at Oklahoma State. And the reason he came to Oklahoma State was because it was closer to Salina, so his mom and dad and all of his family and friends could watch his teams. And to know Kurt was really a pretty cool thing, because like all of us that are here today that were a part of his career, we were able to know a lot of the players that played for him over the years. And a lot of these players came from nothing, didn't have anything in their family, and Kurt was a father figure to all of them. And again, a real characteristic of somebody who lives in Salina, what they're all about. He not only had his 3 children himself, he and Shelley, his wife, but a 20-plus year of coaching career of other kids, being really looking up to Kurt. So when Mark and I were talking about this, it made sense to us in talking with Jason and city staff about would this ever be a possibility, that this was probably the most public and visible place that Salina could recognize Kurt, and do it in a fashion that was not overbearing, but would keep his name alive for a long, long time. I don't know how many years, Jason, whether that's 10 or 20 years, and we know that the city commission always has that opportunity somewhere down the road to change things, and we respect that. But Mark and I also thought it was very important that the city of Salina and the taxpayers not incur 1 cent of expense on this. And we've committed to pay for the decals that can be ready by the tournament, We've committed to pay for the repainting on the basketball court. We've committed to create a shadow box up front, which again would have to be approved by the city and the Bicentennial Center new management group, that would depict Kurt Budke's life, because a lot of people may walk in and not know who Kurt Budke was over time. And our intention is to not let really Kurt Budke's life go away, and that he was as much a Salina as any of us that live here today. So on behalf of Mark and I and others who really would like to see this happen, we appreciate your consideration for this, and thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the initiative on getting this started. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Gage, do we need to take any action? I was just looking at that shadow box. Do we need to do anything on that today, or is that reserved for later?
No, basically, if you approve the resolution, then that will allow staff to work with them on all design, location, and all that, and I think we can figure out all that. The other thing is that it was asked last time, just as a reminder, we'd anticipate, this is during the transition time, that at some point here soon, we expect a contract to be in front of you with Global Spectrum for operation of that facility, and so we anticipated that and talked with them, and they're very, very comfortable with this and thinks that it makes a lot of sense for the facility, so we shouldn't have any issues at all working out the details.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other public comment. I'll bring it back to the commission for action.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution number 12-6878, naming the basketball court located at the Bicentennial Center as the Kurt Budke Court.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution 12-6878. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. We're on to the consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of February 6, 2012. Item 6.2, resolution number 12-6877, appointing members to various boards and commissions. Item 6.3, authorize an agreement for landfill engineering services. Item 6.4, authorize the 2012 asphalt millings material purchase for maintenance on unpaved city streets to Alsop Sand Company in an amount not to exceed $36,800. Item 6.5, acknowledge receipt of Special Law Enforcement Trust Fund report.
Does a commissioner want to take any of these items off of the consent agenda or have any questions about any of these? Seeing none, I'll bring it to the commission for action.
Mayor, I'd move that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Don't have any development business, so we're on to administration.
Item 8.1, second reading, ordinance number 12-10628, amending section 8-185 of the Salina Code to make allowances under certain conditions for a master skilled tradesman to serve as the designated master for more than one business entity.
Ordinance 12-10628 was passed on first reading on February 6, 2012. Since that time, no comments have been received. Is there any public comment on this today? Seeing none, I'll bring it to the commission for action.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve on second reading ordinance number 12-10628, amending section 8-185 of the Salina Code, making allowances under certain conditions for master skilled tradesmen to serve as designated master for more than one business entity.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt ordinance 12-10628 on second reading. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Crawford,
Aye.
Commissioner Householder,
Aye.
Commissioner Jennings,
Aye.
Commissioner Shirley,
Aye.
Mayor Angel.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Is there any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.